These are just some thoughts on E3 2018. I won't have any notes on Nintendo or Bethesda because their games don't appeal to me, so it's not proper for me to critique them, since I'm not their audience. Electronic Arts' deep dive into Anthem was to me the best part of their conference. There's an alluring backstory that I want to know more about, and a world that they're building that's alive with detail, although the release date that they chose troubles me greatly. It is the same release date that Sony chose for Days Gone, and Deep Silver chose for Metro Exodus. Makes me wonder which company is going to blink first, Electronic Arts, Sony, or Deep Silver. Because at least one of those games is going to have to move. Microsoft's presentation was kind of a disappointment. Their predictable lineup of exclusives included Halo Infinite and Gears of War 5, only one of which I'm interested in. Their only real surprises came from third-party developers. I think From Software's reveal of the game Sekiro Shadows Die Twice looked fantastic. I, for the most part, stayed clear of games like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and BloodBorne because they're all combat, very little story. However, this might actually be the first where its story is as good as its combat. The Division 2 looked really great. Its move to Washington was a smart one. I just wish that instead of hearing rehearsed multiplayer voices, they would have showed something from the campaign, and the dialogue there too. Nobody gives a shit about Kit and her fucking power level. This is the kind of shit that pulls me right out of the experience.
Kit, we gotta get you leveled up.
I know, please help. I've been busy.
If you're going to have an intriguing story about militants looking to claim an American ruling class that was abandoned, then let me hear that fucking story. Devil May Cry 5 looks to reinvigorate the series for both old and new fans alike, but Capcom's reveal on Microsoft's stage is very interesting indeed. But I guess since Resident Evil 2 was going to appear on Sony's stage, they wanted to spread out their goods. As the conference was coming to an end, I thought we would get an announcement from DC and Rocksteady for sure, since Marvel and Spider-Man were going to be a certainty on PlayStation's stage, but it wasn't to be.
And now, I'm proud to introduce the creation of a brand new Microsoft studio, The Initiative.
Microsoft's creation of the Initiative Studio may show how serious they are about turning things around next generation. The studio is perfectly positioned in the United States' largest hub for game developers. Sony Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, Activision Blizzard, Electronic Arts, Insomniac Games, Treyarch, among others, all share a home here.
This new Santa Monica studio is building a team of world-class talent to create groundbreaking new game experiences.
Sony's mistake is Microsoft's boom, not buying Ninja Theory when they had the chance. Because Hellblade was a fantastic fucking game, and Ninja Theory is a remarkable developer. And with Microsoft's acquisition, there is a lot to prove, from both companies. It's a shame anything they develop won't be out for at least a couple of years.
This is a team gifted in creating new franchises.
Remember that the acquisition and creation of these studios does nothing to solve the problem Xbox is having now. These developers will most likely be working to release games for Microsoft's next-gen console. The best we can hope for is a similar late-gen increase in quality games, similar to what we saw happen to PS3. Make no mistake about it, exclusives are what saved Sony that generation. They didn't finish first, but they released some of the best games of the generation at the tail end of it. That's why they have been double downing on exclusives this generation. They found the formula that should have been obvious to any platform holder by now. Square Enix's presentation was short but sweet. Narrated by one of my favorite actors, Keith David, they showed an in-depth look at Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This will prove to be the darkest of the series by far. And the announcement of not one but two console exclusives for PS4, The Quiet Man and the intriguing Babylon's Fall, developed by Platinum Games. What more could you want from 30 minutes? The only real disappointment that comes to mind was the absence of Crystal Dynamic and Eidos Montreal's Avengers project that was announced in 2017, and I was hoping for some kind of info this year. All of Ubisoft's pageantry was lost on someone like me. Beyond Good and Evil 2 looked very interesting. I guess that means I'll have to go and play the first. And the partnership with Joseph Gordon-Levitt was quite the surprise. Me and my sister know him well as Tommy Solomon from Third Rock from the Sun, and I'm a fan of his current works as well. So his outreach to artists of all ilks, I'm sure, will benefit gamers for years to come. If it's handled above board, that is. Ubisoft's presentation of The Division 2 was stellar as compared to what was shown in the Microsoft conference. A dynamic, drama-filled trailer for The Division sets the tone for what could be a stellar sequel. Sony started their show off with The Last of Us 2, and if you thought the second trailer was brutal, Naughty Dog is doubling down this year. But after a gripping demo, Sony for some reason killed their pace by having its attendees shuffle to another theater. Yes, they announced the God of War's Game Plus, and they talked about Sony exclusives. Twin Mirror looked interesting, but they killed the pacing and used what should have been pre-show content to cover up the fact that they had to move to another theater. But despite some problems with Twitch, it was almost all forgotten about once Ghost of Tsushima revealed its gameplay. Stunning visuals that would look insane on a 4K HDR screen. Fluid, brutal combat that shows Sucker Punch truly upped their game since infamous Second Son. Ending with a tense face-off between two evenly skilled warriors. Then Remedy revealed Control, the long-rumored codename P7 that they were working on. I was blown away, as Remedy games tend to do. Its reveal on a Sony conference as opposed to Microsoft is very telling though. Obviously they were unhappy with their partnership or deal with Microsoft, and that has obviously come to an end. What that means for a Quantum Break sequel, I'm not sure. I don't know who owns the rights to the IP, if it's Remedy Studios or Microsoft, but a sequel seems unlikely now. Soon after the Remedy reveal, we got another long-anticipated look at Death Stranding, revealing some of the most beautifully rendered gameplay I've ever seen in a video game, as well as some melancholy music and leaving me again with more questions than answers. One of the only disappointments I can speak to Sony's conference, other than the pacing and some of the technical issues, was their lack of release dates, or even release windows. The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Control, Death Stranding, no release dates or release windows for any of those games. And when I say release windows, I'm talking about quarters or months of the year, not just 2019. Sony ended the night with an amazing Spider-Man gameplay reveal. Spider-Man fighting through the floating prison known as the Wrath, encountering nemeses that he put away, such as Electro, who looked kind of like Bill Burr to me, and revealing 5 of what will be most likely the Sinister Six. Any person who knows their Spider-Man history knows what I'm talking about. At this point, I was still holding out hope that we would see something from Rocksteady akin to some kind of continuation of the universe they built with the Arkham games. Whether it be a continuation of that series, which is unlikely, or the rumored Superman game. That said to be in the works. But I knew because Sony and Marvel were going to be showcasing the Spider-Man game sometime during the conference that the reveal from DC and Rocksteady was going to be highly unlikely. But the fan in me still fucking wanted to see it, and was somewhat let down by their absence. I guess they're holding out for Gamescom in August. I chose not to rank any of the conferences because they all had their own issues, and you already have your favorite in mind, so I'll leave you with this. Thanks for watching.
You